Great. Hello everyone. Hello and welcome to Healthy Waves, uh, the live group podcast where we dive deep into the diverse and engaging topics with the experts from various fields. Each episode is a journey through the vast ocean of knowledge where our distinguished guests share their insights, experiences, and expert opinions to help you navigate the waves of life. Whether it's mental fitness, purpose, resilience, diet, exercise, or meditation, we bring you like thought provoking discussions that inspire and empower as well. So, tune in, get comfortable, and let's ride into the healthy waves together. So, welcome everyone to the show.
Thank you.
Th- Thanks
Thanks.
for having us,
Pleasure to be
Avik.
here. Pleasure to be here.
Lovely, lovely. So I'll quickly introduce to all of you. I'll quickly start with Ray. Welcome Ray to the show. Ray is the founder of Laconsa Mental Fitness, offering a transformative 4-month program, mental fitness for the business leaders in recovery. So, with over 20 years of experience in the meditation and the mindfulness, he has dedicated his life to helping others navigate recovery with the resilience and the mental fortitude. So, from overcoming his own struggles and with the addiction and the PTSD, he brings a wealth of personal and the professional experience to our discussion today. Also, I'll quickly introduce you all to Amrit Singh Range. Like, he is a high momentum life coach with over 30 years of experience in Kundalini yoga. So, having spent 2 decades in India, I mean, deepening his practice, he now in Mexico, where he continues to help the clients worldwide. So, his expertise in the meditation, habit development, and the spirituality enables him to guide individuals towards creating a life of freedom and the happiness. Also, I'll introduce you all to Justin Har. So, he is the visionary behind uh, Eden Platform, a former college tennis player and an advocate for breaking down societal barriers around the gender and the sexuality. So, having faced like numerous, uh, I mean, personal challenges, including Tourette Syndrome and cancer, he believes that in the power of intimate connections to heal and unite the world. So his unique blend of humor and the insight aims to foster a more inclusive and connected society. So it's really, really great, dear listeners, like to I'm really very great that I'm connecting with all of them, and it will definitely be going on a more insightful and more knowledgeable discussions today. So without further ado, I'll welcome all of you again, and let's dive in. So welcome to the show again, everyone. So we'll start with Ray. Ray, like if you can share how your mental fitness program helps the businesses or the business leaders in recovery uh, develop new thinking habits.
Okay, we'll do. Well, what I do is really encapsulated in the title of this intensive program, Mental Fitness for Business Leaders in Recovery. And so, first, I'd like to describe what I mean by mental fitness. It borrows from the paradigm of physical fitness, meaning like when you go to the gym for the first time, you might work with a personal trainer who helps you pick up light weights and do a few reps to start building muscle mass from there.
Mhm.
So with mental fitness, you're working with a coach like myself who's going to do similar science-based, evidence-based exercises. Brief, easy to do exercises more frequently to help you build self-command over your own mind. So it doesn't the paradigm that I use Doesn't necessarily require long sits of meditation or yoga or any those kinds of different types of yoga. But it will use mindful movement. It will use breath work. It will use different things in brief ways. And when I refer to business leaders, I'm talking about anybody from being a solopreneur, like probably any of us here, on up to a Fortune 100 CEO, because they're all dealing with predominantly the same issues. They're dealing with, bottom line profit and loss issues. They're dealing with employment issues, business location issues, customers, marketing, you name it. And they can't shut it off at 5 o'clock. That's the key thing. It's stuff that consumes their heads 24 hours a day in many cases. So then the last bit in that title is recovery. And I'm referring to anybody who's in active recovery from alcoholism and or addiction. And when I say active recovery, I'm generally referring to somebody who's been abstinent for at least 6 months from their drug or behavior of choice and is in some sort of an active program pursuing their recovery. So that really encapsulates what the course is. And then, from there, the uniqueness of putting those things together, mental fitness with business leaders in recovery, it's a very specific niche there, but it has very specific needs, if you will, different from the general population, if you will. And I come to it, I think that's also part of your question. I come to it starting with, I owned a business for about 15 years. I was a computer consultant in Midtown Manhattan. And right leading up to 2001, my coping skills started to suffer. And I was looking for answers. And I went into therapy. I was diagnosed with depression. And then at a really pivotal moment in my life, I really came to admit that my drinking had gotten the better of me and that I myself was an alcoholic. And I went into a recovery program from there. And about several months after I went into recovery, 9/11 happened in New York. And I had 5 clients in the World Trade Center. I knew 6 people who died that day. And I simply wasn't compos mentis to help salvage my business at that time. Even though the Small Business Administration was flooding New York City with money for businesses exactly like my own, I just wasn't available, mentally and emotionally and psychologically to pursue those solutions. So I shut the business down. And that turned out to be rather serendipitous, because what I really needed at that time in my life was something I could turn off at 5 o'clock. I needed to be able to focus on my recovery. So I took a job out in New Jersey as a middle manager in a corporation I was a president for so long. I was the owner, come on. And, I went into a very humbling environment for me that taught me more skills than I could have ever learned in a million years. And one of the things it taught me was how powerful my mindset and serenity had on my business performance. So it was a very chaotic company. It was a very stressful environment. And so much so that at one point I just kind of gave up and I said, okay, I'm taking a break at the top of every hour for 1 minute just to breathe. And I had set my little Nokia handheld phone to go ding at the top of every hour. And I just sat in repose for about 60 seconds, sometimes 3 minutes. And it was amazing how productive the rest of the hour became. So much so that my inbox emptied, my desk was clean as a whistle. I became known as the responsible adult in the department, the non-reactionary, responsible adult. And at the end of that year, I earned 120% of my bonus. And that was all by just coming to be able to focus my attention for a mere 60 seconds per hour. And so that's where the fascination with this kind of work began for me. Um, and a few years ago, several years ago, I studied meditation with a teacher here in New York, who then handed me up to their teacher, who I've been studying with for about 16 years, non-dualism, Eastern philosophy, Eastern wisdom. And those teachers eventually came to me and said, "It's time for you to start teaching." So that's when I started crafting this program, in fact. So
Understood. Understood.
I hope that
Yeah, yeah, great, definitely. Thanks for sharing this. And also, I'll quickly go to Amrit ji. So, how has your extensive practice of Kundalini yoga influenced your coaching techniques and the client interactions?
For me, and first of all, I want to acknowledge what Ray said because it's such a beautiful journey to go through the process and experience that and recognize how impactful and how deep a small meditative practice of 60 seconds can be and how impactful it can be on what you create, right? And how you live your life. And that's one of the things which I love about meditation. And one I want to go a little bit in a different direction. I think meditation has still been clumped into either the religious side of things, right, where people do their prayer or their religious practices, or in this new age spirituality thing. And I don't like either of those two categories because I feel they're both limiting and they're disconnecting from who we are as human beings, right? We come here to have a human experience. We come in spirit and we are these spiritual beings. So for us to come back to connecting with spirit, to establishing that depth of really knowing that how much that is part of who we are at the core, that's all of my motivation in the work with my clients. So I'm very quickly getting them to forget about spirituality, forget about religion, because even though I look very religious and spiritual, I think it's the opposite from helpful. Because what's really helpful is that we all recognize that this is who we are at our core, right? We have this connection to spirit. And meditation is an amazing tool to open that door again and to go back to what we are by birth meant to do on this planet and how we're meant to interact with ourselves, with our environments, in relationships, in our work, in everything we do. And so I love bringing what I learned over 30 years in Kundalini Yoga through my meditation practice, through all these different paths I have taken. I really love to bring that more to the mainstream and to everybody because I believe deeply that this is something that serves every human being. And so the more religious, spiritual, woo woo stuff we can take out of it and really say, like, this is being part of being human, that's a success for me.
That's really really lovely. Thanks for sharing this. And also, uh, Justin, like, what inspired you to create the Eden platform? Like, how does it aim to foster the connections?
Yeah, so, you know, growing up, I went through quite a number of different forms of trauma, from Tourette's to cancer to loss to, bullying and rejection. It just kind of was it piled on top of each other and compounded itself as I was
Mhm.
moving through life and through childhood.
Yeah.
And I just felt like there was not really an end in sight to this trauma and this pain I was going through. And so, like, I knew I still had a brain. I did pretty well in school, went to a pretty good school, and I'm like, I started having a little bit of an existential crisis of like, what am I doing here? What's the point of all this? If the pain is going to be here, I might as well try to build something extraordinary and leave something behind that I think hopefully could add impact and influence society. And along with that process came with just trying to figure out like what the root of most of the world's issues comes down to, and trying to break it down to something extremely simple. And I feel like I've come to the idea that a lot of the labels that we use today when it comes to gender, sexuality, even religious labels, political labels, is just divisive and limiting, and
Mm.
just prevents us from expressing ourselves the way we want to different people. There's stigma behind labels and how you identify. Um, and I feel like if we minimized our use of of these different identities, we can connect better. We can connect and have more intimate relationships with one another, and not have fear of rejection and or fear of, am I allowed to express myself a certain way, whether it's verbal, emotional, or physical. And I feel like if the world somewhat agreed to that, agreed to a world where regardless of your identity, we can still connect and I can still express myself no matter what, because that's the way I feel. And so the Eden platform, if it were to be built today, I feel like that's sort of the first order of business, is to get on the same page as human beings on the rules around how we can express ourselves physically and emotionally with one another. Really pair up, really sort of team up first before this platform is built. Even though I have a couple of phases after this that I want to do from like a economic and entertainment perspective, but before we do all that, it's really about getting on the same page in a mindset of creating close and intimate connections. So that's kind of what I want to leave behind. I feel like that's what my calling is, my destiny, and what I see as sort of the root of it all. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I hope I can build and leave behind.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're saying something.
No, I was gonna say, like I kind of relate to what Ray and Amrit were saying with, being a college tennis player. Mental toughness and health and fitness is like a huge part of that journey. There's the physical fitness, but if you don't have the mental game for it, you're not going to do well. So I have a little bit of experience sort of with, meditation and mental health and mental fitness when it comes to just being an athlete. And it just translates into, everyday life and business and life and social relationships, business relationships. So it's a good skill and, habit to have, if that makes sense.
Understood. Understood. So, okay. So, thank you all for sharing your insights, and also like, uh, I mean, what role? So, for Ray, like, what according to you, like, do the meditation and mindfulness play in your recovery journey and your mental fitness program?
Well, similar to what Justin just mentioned, I had a lot of trauma in my history. And I think if you walk in any recovery center or 12-step program, you'll see a room full of people with trauma histories. And many of them know it, many of them don't. Um,
Yeah.
but for me, it was really about getting one of the key symptoms for me was rage. I was full of rage and I was heavily reactive, very reactionary. So when I first got into meditation, it was to calm that rage, to calm that reactivity. And then slowly, as that reactivity did subside, it went much deeper than that. And today, it really manifests in three key principles in my life: in forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. And I find that if I can live in a state of gratitude, most of the time, then fear and rejection and worry of any kind don't exist um,
Mm.
for me. And that's key to my. One of the primary reasons I drink, and many people drink, is to quell fear. and they often don't know it. I didn't know that that's what I was doing, that I was just trying to quell my fear around the future, around, and it all, much of it driven by what had happened in the past, thinking, well, this is going to occur again. uh, and the meditation brought me into this present moment to let me understand that uh, the past was over and the future has not yet happened. So the only place to live is right here, right now.
So that's very very true. So, also like Amriji, like how do you integrate the meditation spirituality in your coaching to help the clients achieve their goals?
Well, I want to kind of attach it to what Ray said because it's so powerful, this
Hmm.
being in the present moment. And it's so funny because it's something we adults struggle with. But when you look at little kids, that's the
Yeah.
easiest thing in the world, to be in the present moment, not to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, already forgot what happened last week, and really just
Hmm.
being present, right? So back to, this is our human identity, to live in the present moment. We just, through our whole, upbringing and educational system, and you can go into all those details, what created this, moving us out of the present moment. So to answer your question, what does it, or how do I apply it in my coaching, is I really work with people very closely to allow them to find something that brings them to the present moment. For someone, that might be going for a walk in the forest. For someone else, that's exercising. For a third person, it's just spending some time with their kids. Or for someone
Yeah.
else, it might be meditation. Meditation is a great tool. That's why it's in all the cultures and in all religions and in all spiritual approaches. It's a big piece because it's a tool that works really well. Is it the only tool? No, of course not. There's many other tools which can get you there. But when you experience what meditation can do for you, and again, how Ray experienced it with 1 minute of just consciously having the intention to calm down, to focus on his breath, to be present in the moment, that's that's like such an amazing gift to remember that, because it's not
Yeah.
something you have to learn. It's not something where someone says, "Oh, I'm not good at meditation." It just means, like, since you were a little child, you moved away from it quite far, so now let's find the way back, and
Hmm.
let's do it in a calm and supportive way, where you have successes in the process and where you get better and better at remembering that you're a natural born meditator.
True. Very true. Yeah. So, Justin, like in your view, uh, what are most significant barriers to the intimacy in today's society? Like, how can they overcome? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fear of rejection is a big one. I feel like if someone were to express themselves and not for
Mhm.
it to be well received, it's a scary thing, and it's happened to a lot of people. It's happened to me, and it's to a point where it was mentally sort of dangerous for me to continue because I was I expressed myself to some people over the years, and it was not well received, and it kind of put me into a dark place for a while. I was like, wow, I can't, I can't. It's hard to express yourself in this society we live in today. So I think one thing that I've learned is to I don't it really just take your relationship slow. Um, I think some
Mhm.
people move too fast when it comes to the types of relationships they're trying to build, um, whether it's personal, romantic, social, business. It's important to take baby steps, really understand who you're talking to, understand your emotions, understand how you feel, and
Yeah.
really keep it above the surface. I think for in the beginning, and then just inch your way towards a more intimate connection. I identify the pace at which the person you're trying to form a relationship with, how they're feeling about, becoming more intimate with you. I think it's important, just, the pace, and just moving at a slower pace, become good friends first. I think that's important to sort of start a relationship that way. What are people's intentions? Really try to gauge that. Ask sort of more present moment questions. Don't really try to look too far in the past or look too far in the future. I think it's important to just kind of stay where you are, stay like in the moment. Maybe a conversation about, last week or the week coming up. Maybe that's kind of more in the present sort of standard deviation area of today and now. So yeah, it's just kind of keeping yourself in the present, I think, is important. Go
Yes,
ahead.
yes.
Yeah, and I want to jump in there because I love what Justin said. Because all these things you described is really what we're working on to do with ourselves, right? To develop that intimate relationship with ourselves, with our spirit, our core, our soul, whatever you want to call it, right? The word doesn't matter, but to develop that connection with our essence, and to take it slow, and to listen, and to be present, and to get to know about, and then to bring acceptance to ourselves, bring forgiveness to our mistakes, feel gratitude for ourselves, right? And that's when we get to that point, then we really are able to have a relationship with someone else, because that other person will start reflecting back to us what we are struggling with, what we don't like about ourselves, where we think that's not okay. And then we point it out at the other person, because it's so much easier to deal with that than to deal with ourselves.
Yeah, I was going to just follow up, and say, like, as a person living and born with Tourette's, I've learned that I almost need to meditate like 24/7, even as we speak, because, before I sort of, as an adult, it gets better. Like, it just, I guess, naturally just gets better because you're just trained more. You can accept your body more for what it is. But you have to. I've learned to accept that I need to accept. It's like I don't have a choice. I have to accept my body for what it is. I have to accept my emotions for what they are. I have to accept my discomfort in the environment I may be in, because a lot of these things can be triggers to tics, and that just snowballs into more tics and more anxiety or more stress, whatever it is. So it's important. I've learned to, like, even just talking to people, even being here, talking to business relationships, personal, being in group settings are definitely triggers for me. Really just like accept this is what it is. This is what I'm feeling. 2 seconds I'm talking to this person, and then the next 2 seconds I'm talking to this person, and that's just what's happening, and I'm accepting it, and that's what it is. So just being comfortable with being uncomfortable, it's almost kind of like freeing. It's like, okay, like I'm not comfortable right now, but that's okay. So what? I have no other choice, so I might as well just like hang, like kind of sit back in my body and take it in. So I don't know. I'm just saying.
No, and I love that. There's being uncomfortable in order to be comfortable, because that's exactly what all relationships are about, right? When you can do that with another person, where you're just accepting, and you can see it like, okay, they're going through their thing, but I'm here. That's a foundation for good relationships. So I love what you're doing, Justin. Amazing.
Thanks, Amrit. Appreciate it. I love what everyone's doing here. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
wanted to jump in if I can. This is an exciting conversation. There's so many things that I want to go, oh, yeah, and so, but Justin talking about relationships, the type of work all of us do. I think almost all of our students or customers, whatever we're calling them, would probably agree that this type of work has such a profound impact on not only things like business performance, and our personal serenity, but our interpersonal relationships, whether they're romantic or professional or familial. This idea, some things that Justin touched on, accepting the other person wholly and completely for who they are, is, warts and all, as we like to say, has a profound effect on how that person approaches us if we're accepting to them. And I get that from the people who go through my courses, talk about this had a far broader impact on their lives than just their business performance. Um, and the quality of forgiveness, it's fascinating, but I've learned how to forgive in the future. Generally, forgiveness is about the past. But as I'm approaching, like, for instance, to meet somebody, I forgive them in advance if they don't meet my expectations. So there's nothing that throws me off guard when I get there. They're not the person I thought they were going to be. They're not as engaging. They're not as this or that as they're going to. That allows me to meet them where they are. And we wind up having a much more engaging experience than if I keep layering on who they're supposed to be. you know and the same thing goes in for interpersonal relationships, learning who somebody is versus trying to project on them who I want them to be.
Lovely. Thank you everyone for sharing. And this discussion is all about like what we have been into and what we are going through. So that's really lovely. And also, like, uh, to Amrit, I'll love to come to you. Is that what, according to you, are some of the strategies that you would recommend someone uh, for developing and maintaining that healthy habits?
Well, first of all, to really understand why you want to maintain healthy habits, right? Because if that why is not clear, or if you're doing it for some outside reasons and not really for yourself, it becomes hard to go exercise, to go meditate, to eat the healthy food choices. But when you really get that clarity of why you want to maintain healthy, a healthy mind, a healthy body, a healthy connection to spirit, things become much easier. And then the motivation is much more clear too, because then you're really diving into it and enjoying it and looking forward to doing it again the next day, rather than forcing yourself to eat that salad while you want to eat the burger, right? So that's the first thing. And then that's really where meditation has helped me a lot, to really go in deep and explore that and to really connect to my why. Because the moment that becomes clear, everything else is just more fun.
Mm, understood. So, okay. And for Ray, like, what, according to you, what advice would you give for the business leaders who are struggling with the mental health and also wanted to seek recovery?
Well, primarily, understanding that you can start on this work. Something interesting Amrit said earlier is that many people think they can't meditate. Oh, my mind is too busy. I can't do this. Everyone can do it. And if you have any trepidation about it, then a method similar to mine, where we're going to start you out on very easy exercises for very brief durations. We're not going to ask you to sit in meditation for 20 minutes in the full lotus position. You know, we're simply going to ask you to breathe. Like, I like to start with what Thich Nhat Hanh called telephone therapy. Every time you hear a phone ring, take 3 conscious breaths. And it's really a wonderful way to start. And that's all we ask. Also, meditation isn't about keeping a perfectly still mind. Even some of the most experienced monks can't keep a perfectly still mind. They're simply aware of what the mind is doing. And that's where it begins. If you can identify that your mind is very busy today, you're meditating. The moment you realize, one of the reasons we pick a focal point during meditation, like the breath or a candle flame or something like that, is so that you can tell when the mind is wandering. And then the moment you've noticed that it's wandered, you come back to whatever the focal point is you've chosen. But it's very simple. It's not, you don't have to panic because suddenly you started writing your grocery list. Everybody, the Dalai Lama does that. So it is not to be worried, to limit yourself by saying, oh, this isn't, I don't do this well. You will. We'll work together. So,
Okay. So is it always necessary to have so while meditating? So I also believe that for the beginners who wanted to start with the meditation, but somewhere down the line they do not able to focus, and also been heard that when they start with the meditation, somehow their focus, while suppose if there are different kinds of meditation also, so they believe that they can't focus on one thing, and when they try to meditate, their mind goes here and there. So how will you justify it?
well, it's just what I said a moment ago, that
Uh-huh.
where you start out very simply. So know that your mind will wander. That when you start, your mind will wander, because that's why we're working. It's just like going to the gym. If you haven't ever been to the gym before, we don't hand you a 100-pound dumbbell and say, hey, we want you to curl this 50 times. That would be unreasonable. We know that you're not going to be able to do it, but we're going to push you just a little bit past your comfort point. Um, it also should be rolled into your life in such a way that's pleasing and fun, so that you want to come back to do it again. So that's why 60 seconds can work, 30 seconds can work. And then when you're comfortable, you extend that by whatever increment you feel comfortable with. 15 seconds, another minute, 5 minutes. Before you know it, you will be sitting for 20 minutes or more. And it's, again, don't set yourself up for failure by thinking my mind has to be perfectly still throughout. I've had meditations where the hamster never got off the wheel. It doesn't mean I wasn't meditating. It meant I was focused on the hamster. So, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Understood.
and I do want to share something to that too. Really,
Yeah.
one of the reasons we practice meditation, and it's already in the explanation, right? We don't say we meditate, we say we practice meditation. And even after 20, 30 years, it's still a practice. Really, the only difference I found for myself is that I can reach that quiet point quicker, right? You will find that quiet point at some point. It might take you 8 hours, might take you 10 hours, might take you 10 years, doesn't matter. But you'll find that point again because you're humanly able to do so. Really, the only difference between a highly experienced meditator who does 6 to 8 hours a day of practice and someone who just does 5, 10 minutes is that that meditator can get there quicker because he has practiced getting to that point. But that point is already there, and it's in every single one of us.
Okay. That's really a lovely thing that you have shared. Yeah. Also, Justin, what do you think? Like, what impact do you hope the Eden platform will have on the way people from relationships and interact with each other?
I mean, if there was a world where everyone was paired up, that would be cool. Like everyone had a significant other, everyone had close friends in their lives. As an adult, close friends is rare. It's hard to maintain. It's hard to see. So unfortunately, the world we live in, it's difficult to see people that or see our friends often. So if I can create a structure, a society, a way of life that promotes more intimacy across your different types of relationships, that's just better. It's just better for everybody. It's less conflict, it's less disagreement, it's less. I think by working together, having these types of connections, I feel like a lot of other problems will be solved. We'd be working together more. So it's kind of like that first domino among other dominoes of problems. Like if you just tip this first domino, I feel like everything else will just kind of fall into place. Which is kind of why I'm working on this specific problem, because I feel like this is the first domino in just a vast sort of collection of dominoes in terms of problems. So, um, yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. So I'll request all of you, like, if you can share one tip for the listeners, like for a healthy life and a healthy mind. So we'll start with Ray.
To me, a core value is acceptance. Acceptance of things as they are right here, right now. It's obviously much easier said than done for many people, but setting that intention to be accepting can be a very, very powerful start to a very powerful journey.
Lovely, lovely. Uh, Amrit ji, yeah.
Yeah, I love the acceptance. Mine are a little bit more practical ones. One of my pet peeves is that people are dehydrated because people don't drink enough water. So, my one tip would be drink more water, because drinking water really helps your brain and on every single level. And it helps your body, it helps your mind, it helps the integration of everything you do. So, minimum half a gallon, ideally drink a whole gallon a day, you'll feel like a different person. So that's my first tip. Second tip is practice breathing. It's something we do all day long. Just take a long, deep breath. And I always remember, like a couple of years ago, Skype had that on their loading screen where it's like, take a deep breath. And every single time I took a deep breath. And every single time I felt better than if I would have not taken that one deep breath. And so, if you can do those two things, you're off to a good start.
That's really really lovely. I really support this breathing and drinking water. Definitely, definitely. And Justin,
Yeah, I love those. Breathing and drinking. That's good. What about coconut water? Do you recommend coconut water? Do you like that?
Excellent. Yeah, great. But don't use it as an excuse when you don't have coconut water not to drink. Then just drink normal water.
Noted. Got it. One thing of advice. Yeah, I think just as a mentality, be open to people expressing themselves. Accept it, receive it, respond kindly, respond with gratitude, respond with flatter. I think just that just alone, that simple practice of just reacting and responding that way, it's a game changer in terms of how we can treat each other. So if we can go around accepting and expecting and encouraging one another to express how they feel, um yeah, again, that's it.
No, I
Yeah.
love that. And I want to add something to it too,
yeah,
because what a beautiful world that would be where not everybody is just the same and like the gray mice, everybody looks the same, but where everybody expresses themselves as they want, and it is more color in life and there's more joy in life. And it really takes it to the level where when you look at it, who the people are we are gravitating to and who we want as friends in our life, they're always the people who express themselves and who are the most authentic and the most real. And so I think it's a motivation to do more of that and express more rather than less.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
That's very nice.
Exactly. I really, really love the tips you have shared, all of you have shared, and also I also believe that these are definitely important. And along with this, it is also very important to create this awareness because um, uh, it's only it's hardly a few seconds of thing to share something, to share this awareness with everyone, and it can change someone's life also. So it's very important to share this awareness that it's very important and it's mandatory to take care of yourselves, to take care of your healthy mind and healthy life. So it's very important. So thank you everyone for joining us on this enlightening episode of Healthy Waves. And I believe like all of you have found our discussions on the mental fitness, purpose, resilience, meditation as inspiring and informative as I did, definitely. And a huge thank you to all of our incredible guests. So Ray for sharing his insights on the mental fitness and the transformative power of the mindfulness in the recovery process. Amrit for his deep wisdom on the meditation, habit development, and living a fulfilling life also. And Justin for his visionary approach for the connection, intimacy, and his efforts to foster a more inclusive world. So it's very important. So remember that every challenge is a kind of opportunity for the growth, and with the right mindset and the tools, we can definitely elevate our lives. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, and rate, and leave us a review, because your feedback definitely helped me bring you a lot more inspiring contents and the guests, expert guests like we had today with us from around the world. So share it with your friends, family, to spread the knowledge, spread the inspiration, spread the word. And yes, stay tuned for more episodes where we will dive deep into another exciting topic with more expert guests. And until next time, keep riding those healthy waves of life. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, Avik.
Thank you. This was fun.
Really enjoyed it. I